look into not only the Alao Dam, but other dams in the country.
Federal Executive Council approves constitution of Committee for Disaster Relief Fund takeoff. And in Borno State government announces more than 4 billion naira credited to flood relief account.
We must ensure that every naira allocated for relief is used effectively and reaches those who are suffering.
And high-level debate begins as UN 79th General Assembly opens in New York.
Countries in the global north must do more to support sustainable development in the global south.
Hello, it's nice to have you join us on the network news on NTA tonight. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Reading with me is Adiola Komiakiri in our Lagos Network Center. And Musa Abubakar, as usual, will bring us happenings in the world of business. Musa, who is gaining and losing in the capital market today?
Well, the equities market began the first weekday of the week positive as we look towards other development in the market.
Positive, all right. We're looking forward to that news. And Ayo Deji Makinde has live sports action. Ayo, what's on the menu tonight?
Oh, remember the Africa University Games ongoing at the University of Lagos and Lagos State University, just like the African Military Games. Inspection of facilities already ongoing.
All right, then, we're looking forward to that. Remember that NTA News streams live on Facebook, and you can follow us across other social media platforms as well. The handles are displayed on the screen. And now the news in detail. The Federal Executive Council has approved the constitution of a committee to pioneer the launch of the National Relief Fund aimed at catering for victims of disaster in the country. One of the decisions taken at the Council's meeting this Monday. State House correspondent Musbau Dawahab reports.
Council members are back for the first meeting in 2 months. Apparently, memos are piled up for consideration. And with first-hand information from his sympathy visit to Maiduguri, President Bola Tinubu was poised for immediate action as the council deliberated on the causes of the Maiduguri flood disaster vis-a-vis the response efforts of the government ministries and agencies.
Gentlemen of the press.
At the briefing anchored by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security reported on the effort through his ministry, including the release of grains from the National Reserve.
After Mr. President's visit, he also approved the immediate release from the National Strategic Reserve of 100 trailers of rice, 50 trailers of maize, 30 trailers of sorghum and 20 trailers of millet. And that's in the process of delivery. Half of it has already been delivered and the delivery is ongoing.
Learning from the experience of the past, the Council was to prepare for the future as it approved the constitution of a committee for the National Disaster Relief Fund announced by the President in Maiduguri, while a technical committee has also been set up for the reassessment of integrity of dams in the country.
To look into not only the Alao Dam, but other dams in the country, to reassess them and come up with recommendations that will solve the challenge of flooding, and also putting into use the available dams we have.
Ministry of Works got approvals for various roads construction and rehabilitation projects across the country, including Section 2 of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway and a section of the Abuja-Kaduna Road.
And that is 82 kilometers by 2. And it's to be done with asphalt that they have been working with. And the third section is Buat, which is just 17 kilometers to be done on concrete. And so today, FEC approved that of Jolobeja because the other two were not before FEC. And so for a total contract sum of 740 billion.
Similarly, the FCT administration secured council's approvals to improve infrastructures across its satellite towns, which include roads construction in Kwali, Gwagwalada and Buari area councils.
It has been Mr. President's renewable agenda that we should also take development to the satellite towns. As I speak to you today, I know before December, we'll be able to commission not less than 75 kilometers of roads. But Mr. President had also said we must continue to give hope and give infrastructure to satellite towns.
Finance Minister also briefed on the objectives of the Executive Economic Stabilization Bill to be sent to the National Assembly.
It contains, for example, items that change the Foreign Exchange Act, give greater liquidity and encourage the use of electronic rather than cash means, for example, and of course, giving the central bank even greater ability to bring in and attract funds such as the money from the international money transfer organizations.
Therein is also a proposal to amend the Companies Income Tax Act to allow Nigerians with the skills and relevant relationships to provide services to foreign companies while they live in Nigeria. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Still on approval given by the Federal Executive Council, the Ministry of Information and National Orientation is set to begin a nationwide program to revitalize core national values of the country currently facing decadence. This follows approval granted to the ministry by the Federal Executive Council. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who announced the approval after the meeting of the council, says it will enable the ministry and its agencies begin measures to strengthen core national values across primary and secondary schools, institute the National Value Charter, as well as standardize national symbols.
The National Citizens Values Brigade will be established, not just in primary schools, in secondary schools, across this country. Now, this will also help to create the ambassadors of Nigerian values that this country seeks to have. Again, there was an approval of the inclusion of the National Values Charter and the national symbols to be made mandatory, not just in our curriculum, in the teaching of civic education, but also among appointees of government. For example, at every retreat, at the inception of every administration, members, for example, of the Federal Executive Council will have some form of workshop or training on what our national values are, so that this can be further be inculcated. And not only that, also the standardization of our national symbols, the national flag, the national anthem, the Naira notes, the Constitution, and all those things that make what we call our national symbols. We must standardize them. Council has approved that the National Orientation Agency will take charge of that. The way we see our flags being hosted in some indiscriminate manner will be standardized.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is in New York ahead of the 79th United Nations General Assembly session. Leading Nigeria's delegation as directed by President Bola Tinubu. We'll bring you details of that report in the course of the bulletin. Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugga, has called for a deadline extension in implementing the SDG 2030 agenda since Africa falls short of the remaining 84% of the SDG targets. Yusuf Tugga made the appeal at the Summit of the Future, which marks the opening of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. noting that the SDG index estimates that about 16% of the SDG targets are on track to be achieved.
Must therefore ensure that today's adoption of the Pact for the Future is backed by a real willingness to fulfill outstanding commitments. With the remaining 84% of the SDG targets for 2030 yet to be achieved, countries in the global north must do more to support sustainable development in the global south. We're optimistic that these targets can be met if commitments are backed by action. However, in the event we fall short of achieving the SDG targets by 2030, we strongly believe that the deadline should be extended.
The minister called for the support of the international community to assist Africa through sustainable financing to accelerate the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. To ensure accelerated action in other areas, the minister pointed the need to reform the UN Security Council to provide a permanent seat for Africa, reform the international financial architecture to promote an inclusive, non-discriminatory and transparent international trading system, as well as implement comprehensive debt relief measures, among other issues impeding Africa's development. A strategic intervention. Oops, what a wardrobe malfunction. But I'll read on, and then when the story ends, I'll fix my head tie. Now, a strategic intervention capable of tilting a balance in favor of women. That's how members of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development describes the introduction of the alternative high school for girls by Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu. This was at a high-level dinner on empowering Africa's future through education, hosted by the organization in partnership with Their World. Focused on empowering Africa's future through education, this high-level dinner hosted by OFLAD in partnership with Their World, an organization led by former First Lady of the United Kingdom, Sarah Brown, cannot but take cognizance of the interventions by Nigeria's First Lady in education and childbirth registration.
Campaign. I just want to say that you've helped launch the initiative that we're running and some beautiful White Ribbon Alliance and some of the other.
Whether getting involved in policy making or running projects like mine, young people are eager to be part of the solution. We have seen youth across Africa come up with brilliant ideas in technology, academic research and businesses, and this showcases the immense talent that our continent possesses. It's a way of securing the future for the next generation of world leaders while ensuring that women have equal opportunities.
First Lady's interventions in education, women empowerment and health are scheduled for peer review as engagement at UNGA continues. A special celebration of the First Lady's 64th birthday by members of OFLAD is a major side attraction at the dinner. And now we'll take a break so I can fix this. Try not to turn me into an internet meme. It's nice to know you're still watching the network news on NTA. We're talking humanitarian aid next, and more than 4.4 billion naira has so far been credited to the flood relief account of Borno State government out of the pledges made of more than 13 billion naira. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum disclosed this while inaugurating a 35-member state flood relief disbursement committee. Mohammed Goni has the details.
The 35-member flood relief disbursement committee has representatives drawn from the security operatives that include the EFCC, ICPC, civil society organizations, UN agencies, development and humanitarian partners, as well as journalists, among others, as part of efforts to ensure transparency and accountability. The state government has established a dedicated account aimed at supporting the ongoing efforts to alleviate the hardship being faced by those affected by Maiduguri flood disaster. Terms of reference of the Flood Relief Disbursement Committee include verification of all the beneficiaries submitted with a view to identifying the actual victims, judicious disbursement of funds to affected persons, and to advise government on the policy and practice regarding the disbursement, among others. The state government will ensure rehabilitation of public facilities such as hospitals, roads, and bridges, while providing the needed financial support to those affected.
To the members of this committee, I urge you to approach this task with diligence and integrity. We must be accountable for every resource entrusted to us. Transparency in our operations will be paramount. We must ensure that every naira allocated for relief is used effectively and reaches those who are suffering.
The governor also directed that all allowances for the committee members should be paid by the Borno state government and not from the relief fund. Chairman of the committee, Bababakar Gujibau, appreciated the governor for finding them worthy of the assignment and assured the governor of their commitment to live up to expectations. The committee has 1 month to complete its assignment. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
While in a show of solidarity, Taraba State Government has donated the sum of 175 million naira to victims, those affected by flood in Borno State. Correspondent Bem Hanya reports that more assistance is being put together for the victims by the state government.
The delegation, at the instance of Governor Bukefas, led by the Speaker, Taraba State House of Assembly, John Kizito Bonzena, upon arrival, met with Governor Babagana Zulum and donated 100 million naira to the Borno State government, 50 million naira to Taraba State indigenes residing in Borno State, and 25 million naira to the Borno Emirate Council.
Borno State and Taraba State are brothers and sisters. So whatever happens to any of them, the other one is also affected. That is why we are here to sympathize with you and to assure you and your government and the people of Borno State that we have you in our prayers.
We are overwhelmed to receive such a delegation from Taraba State. This is an indication that Governor Kefas is doing everything possible to unite the northeastern states.
The team was also at the palace of the Shehu of Borno, Shehu Abubakar Ibn Umar Garbai El-Kanemi. The Taraba State Commissioner for Special Duties and Humanitarian Affairs, Xavier Noku, said in addition to the cash donation, relief materials are underway for the state. In Maiduguri, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
Amina Danjumagoje Foundation has also reached out to those affected by the devastation caused by flood in Maiduguri and its environs. The relief intervention, which cuts across several aspects of need, including medical consumables, is part of efforts to mitigate the impact of the disaster. Charles Alpha reports.
September 2024, disaster struck Borno State when the Alau Dam collapsed, unleashing catastrophic floods. Over 70% of Maiduguri's residents were displaced, homes submerged, and families left in distress. In response, the Aminatu Goje Foundation swiftly mobilized an emergency outreach initiative to support the affected communities in Maiduguri and Jere. They provided essential medical supplies, anti-malaria medication, antibiotics, and treatments for diarrhea and dehydration, catering to the urgent medical needs of both children and adults. To combat hunger, they served hot meals, delivered food packs, and distributed clean drinking water to displaced families. Mosquito nets, beddings like mats, and essential household items were also provided to restore some dignity to those in need. In a ceremony attended by top government executives and international partners like the UNHCR, the donation was officially received by the Borno State government.
Definitely, we know that they may need assistance. So we are not just assisting the affected victims. It also the Borno State government. That's why we handle everything to Borno State government.
We want to provide medical supplies, food supplies, and sanitary and other items to these victims, so as to identify with them in this time of challenging moments.
We are here along with my team to provide basic medical support to the flood victims, alongside with the support of Aminatu Goji Foundation.
The Aminatu Goji Foundation continues to stand with Maiduguri, providing hope and making a lasting difference.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly will resume plenary Tuesday, September 24, 2024, after about 2 months of recess, punctuated by oversight functions and other legislative activities. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikben takes a look at critical issues which will engage Nigeria's bicameral legislature upon resumption.
Since proceeding on recess on July 23, 2024, the Red and Green Chambers had to reconvene for emergency sessions on July 31 to repeal and reenact the 2024 Appropriation Act, as well as interface with youth groups. This year's 8-week legislative recess provided opportunity for federal lawmakers to engage their constituents and embark on oversight visits to ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
The issue of recess is not for the parliament to go and rest, but it's for them to even work more by engaging people, by seeing by ourselves what the agencies, ministry, and department are doing.
Flood devastation also compelled a delegation of lawmakers to visit Maiduguri to empathize with affected Nigerians. As they resume, the lawmakers will anticipate the 2025 appropriation bill from the executive in order to have sufficient time to scrutinize the expected money bill.
We are ready to begin the processing of the 2025 appropriation bill because we know that by tradition the budget will probably be presented in the month of October or thereabout.
House spokesman Akin Rotimi listed other legislative priorities to include an executive bill on whistleblower protection, as well as bills to amend the Electoral Act, review the Constitution, and promote local government reforms. Motions aimed at enhancing national security, effective monitoring of zonal intervention projects, and addressing climate change are also expected from both chambers as lawmakers work to build on the legislative performance of the 10th National Assembly. Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Committee on University Education has ended the 2024 budget statutory oversight across 6 geopolitical zones with a resolve to come up with modalities aimed at addressing anomalies identified in budget performance in the interest of the system. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that heads of federal universities in the Northwest have promised to continue to comply with regulations and ethics.
The 4 months of the interface between the House of Representatives Committee and heads of federal universities on budget performance is now at its climax. In another submission, Usman Danfodio University Sokoto was found with conflicting figures that necessitates forensic examination.
I don't know where they derived the powers to even allocate part of the IGR to capital vote.
Being guided or restricted by the directives of the federal government not to escalate the registration fee beyond what a common citizen can afford.
Federal University Birnin Kebbi also appeared before the committee, and the issue of nominal role came under the scrutiny of the committee. Unrealistic spending of internally generated revenue was observed at the Federal University Dutse, directing the management to reconcile the record.
The IGR expenditure higher in the 2022 budget implementation report of 21st October 2022 is more than what you presented during the performance review.
Only the National Assembly has power of appropriation. Your council, all that your council does is after the appropriation, they can now go and award contracts.
There has never been a time when this explicit reading of the part of the Constitution and the implications are actually read to us.
Other federal universities visited by the committee were that of Geshua, Barbara, and Azeri.
Some of the infractions, honestly, we will surely look at them for record purposes.
The committee is expected to visit 2 universities in the Northeast before laying its report on the floor of the House. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
The newly established Muhammadu Buhari University of Transportation, Daura, Katsina State, has commenced academic activities in line with federal government's target of producing more skilled youths in the country. The Minister of Transportation, Saeed Ahmed Al-Ghali, graced the maiden matriculation of the university, which stands to safeguard the country's huge investment in the transportation industry. Usaini Suleiman reports.
Observe and respect the provisions.
These travelers are pursuing cutting-edge courses in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, railway engineering, aviation, logistics, transport management, seaport and dry port management, among others. As pioneers, they will set the tune for future generations, shaping the university's legacy through academic excellence and adherence to its rules and regulations.
You must therefore avoid all forms of social vices such as drug abuse, cultism, examination malpractices, and stealing.
I'm feeling so excited today because I have been matriculated on Federal University of Transportation, Daura.
We have sworn that all the rules and regulations we are to abide by it.
The momentous occasion drew dignitaries, including Minister of Transportation Saidu Al-Kali and the Emir of Daura, Umar Farooq Umar. The ceremony showcased vibrant cultural performance and inspiring talent. In Daura, Hussein Suleiman, NTA News.
Now from Daura, let's head to New York. Remember that earlier we told you that Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is there ahead of the 79th United Nations General Assembly session, leading Nigeria's delegation as directed by President Bola Tinubu. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila, who is also in New York, brings us expectations of Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly and other engagements.
Good evening, studio. We are right here in New York with the Vice President, ready to present the national statement as delegated by President Bola Tinubu. But with me is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Office of the Vice President, Mr. Stanley Onkocha. Sir, we would like to know what Nigerians expect from the Vice President representing the President here in New York.
Thank you, Jibrin. So the Vice President is here in New York at the auspice and, of course, directive of Mr. President. And just as you are aware, the delegations the Vice President is leading, led by the Foreign Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Tuga, has just debriefed Mr. Vice President on some of the itineraries and programs he is expected to partake in. Chief of which is the national statement of Mr. President, which will be delivered by special grace of God by the Vice President. And it's a statement that will be rich, it's a statement that will be deep, it's a statement that will be assertive, it's a statement that, that will look at the Nigerian nation and African as to some yearning aspirations, whether it's in terms of democracy, whether it's in terms of security, whether it's in terms of SDGs, whether it's in terms of climate change, but above all, it's a speech that will resonate across Africa and the rest of the world. And of course, too, the Vice President too will be engaging with some multinationals. He'll be engaging with some heads of states too, and a whole lot of side events have also been packaged for Mr. Vice President. You know, so it's going to be a total package. It's going to be rich in terms of delivery, and so at the end of it all, we look forward to not just Mr. President being happy with what he will bring him back home to Nigerians, but also Africa as a continent should, for the very first time in the history of the United Nations, see that, look, that finally they have a voice, Mr. President, and in Nigeria, who is definitely making some authoritative statements that nobody ever wished any African country to make. And that is what we are looking for, that is what we hope for, and that is definitely what we look forward to.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley Onkocha, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Office of the Vice President. We'll look forward to see the outcomes of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly.
Sure,
Thank you very much. Thank you, studio. Back to you.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. I'm sure Nigerians are looking forward to the delivery of that speech. Now let's take one more story on education. And the education support program of the Renewed Hope Initiative of Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has given indigent students pupils in Nasarawa State 60,000 exercise books. Bilkisu Guruku reports that the wife of Nasarawa State Governor Silfat Abdullahi Sule presented the items on behalf of the First Lady.
The donation made through the Education Support Program of the Renewed Hope Initiative aims to support the educational needs of pupils in Nasarawa State, especially those who could not afford basic school items. While handing over the exercise books to the Ministry of Education for onward distribution to benefiting schools, the governor's wife, Silifat Abdullahi Sule, explained that though it is a token out of many to come, the items are meant to encourage the children to strive for academic excellence and address the growing challenges of out of school among children.
The government of Nasarawa State has placed premium, passion, vision, focus on education.
It will go a long way to help these students because some of them, their parents are peasant farmers who cannot even afford to buy some of these books at a go.
Beneficiaries, in expressing gratitude, attest that the donation will spur them to put in their best.
I'm so excited and happy for the First Lady to share her books to us as students, because mostly us students don't have books enough.
Stakeholders described the Renewed Hope Initiative as a testament to the First Lady's commitment towards a better life for a better nation. In Lafia, Bilkisu Omar Gurku, NTA News.
The Federal Executive Council has commended the good people of Edo State over the just concluded governorship election, adjudged free and fair. This was at the commencement of the meeting of the council this Monday at the State House under the chairmanship of President Bola Tinubu. Through the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the council also commended the President for his leadership, resulting in victory for the All Progressives Congress APC.
A huge victory which had eluded the APC for over 8 years. The elections have been adjudged to be free and fair, and that is what Mr. President has always stood for. We want to thank you, Mr. President, for being committed to the electoral process and the ethos of democracy.
So also paid last respect to former member of the council, late Salome Jakanda, Minister of Women Affairs and Youth Development under the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who died on August 27, 2024. She hailed from Taraba State. Meanwhile, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, congratulates Governor-elect of Edo State, Senator Monday Opeopolo of the All Progressives Congress and his running mate, Dennis Idahosa, on their victory. Speaker Abbas notes that the duo are serving members of the National Assembly and expresses delight that more parliamentarians are now holding significant stakes in politics and governance in Nigeria. Urging them to work together for the common good of Edo people, the Speaker enjoins them to remain good ambassadors of the National Assembly while extending an olive branch to their opponents. With the victory in Edo, the Speaker emphasizes that Nigerians are keeping faith with the APC to bring positive changes to the country, especially under President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. The national leadership of the People's Democratic Party has rejected the outcome of the September 21, 2024 governorship election in Edo State, which declared the candidate of the All Progressives Congress winner. Acting national chairman of the party, Umar Damagum, at a media briefing in Abuja, said the final result of the election as declared by INEC did not meet the minimum standard for democracy. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Acting national chairman of the PDP, Umar Damagum, emphasized that after the party's review of the last Saturday's governorship poll in Edo State, it concluded that the exercise did not reflect the expressed will and aspiration of the people.
We put to test once again the level of preparedness of the judiciary to do justice where it is required.
The PDP therefore demands INEC within the time stipulated by the 2022 Electoral Act to review the election and announce results only as obtained from the genuine votes cast at the polling units. The party further advised the people of Edo State to remain resolute as it takes firm steps to retrieve the mandate within the framework of the law. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
It's time to join Adiola in Lagos for more updates from that zone. Adiola.
Is so much, Nadia,
from that zone.
Knowing that adequate information is also a means of empowering the public, the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation has organized a sensitization campaign on federal government's ongoing intervention programs for the people and how they can take advantage of such programs. Larry Belay has the report.
Public knowledge has become imperative as it facilitates informed engagement among the citizenry, halting uninformed and sensational conversation from spreading. To this end, the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation embarked on sharing the facts about the various federal government intervention programs cushioning the effects of the current economic reality.
We need to get them informed so that with the information on hand, they'll be empowered to make use of this information and get a better life for themselves.
They must be informed in disseminating the information across the country, across the cities, to the citizenry of local government, of the activities of the government that will be beneficial to the people.
Communities, artisans, youth, women, religious, farmers, organizations, and association representatives had an interactive session with the presenters, intimating them on the various intervention programs and how they can take advantage of them.
Those also that have information and they have half-baked information, they can have full understanding of what federal government is doing for the citizenry.
What we need to benefit our business, they have explained to us.
The ministry, however, informed participants to access online portal and avoid inquiring from unverified sources. In Lagos, Larry Bilayi, NTA News.
And as the world acknowledges the need to protect the Earth from the sun's ultraviolet radiation through elimination of man-made ozone-depleting substances, Larry Bilayi again looks at Nigeria's journey so far in curbing this trend in her domain.
Will be exposed to ultraviolet radiation of the sun if the ozone layer continues to be depleted. The radiation causes certain types of skin cancers, high cataracts, immune deficiency disorders, and quick aging. The ozone layer protects the Earth when it absorbs radiation from the sun, preventing it from reaching the Earth's surface. Ozone depletion is caused by various human activities, namely manufacturing of chemicals, halocarbon, refrigerants, solvents, propellants, and other utility that uses hydrochlorofluorocarbon.
We should also know that forest conservation, natural resources conservation also contributes in dousing whatever effects emissions can have. There is need for environmental awareness, both on the part of individuals and on the part of government.
Through enlightenment activities on curtailing such activities that create room for increase and exacerbation of the processes of ozone layer depletion, like how we use our refrigerators in the homes, how we use our cars, and the ease of emissions from cars.
Nigeria, being a signatory to the Montreal Protocol, has been following the process of elimination of utilities using HCFC in the country. Environmentalists noted that the recent ban of refrigerants, pesticides, even championing of compressed natural gas by the present administration points to Nigeria's quest on implementing programs that seeks to protect the ozone layer. In Lagos, Larry Bilayi, NTA News.
And we're done with our bit from Lagos. It's time to take another break, and when we return, Musa will take us through the world of business.
You're still watching NTA Network News. Let's now talk business. The National Commissioner, Nigeria Data Protection, Vincent Olatunji, has ordered a full-scale investigation into the data processing activities of Optasia, which operates in the country as near time Nigeria after suspected non-compliant data processing, which was discovered during a routine regulatory oversight of data controllers and data processors. Head Legal Enforcement and Regulation of the Commission, Babatunde Bamiboye, in a statement noted that the company deploys privacy-invading technologies to process personal data for the processes of marketing, credit scoring, and other financial solutions. The Commission enjoins data controllers that this measure will ensure accountability, strengthen data security, architecture, and protect Nigeria's data sovereignty from unauthorized access and use. And to the capital market, the equities market closed positive as investors gained 79.65 billion naira. The all-share index climbed 0.14% to end the session at 98,386.60 points. At the end of the first weekday of the trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 410 million shares in 10,669 deals, corresponding to a market value of 5.5 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 26% decline in volume, 46% decline in turnover, but 23% improvement in deals. Market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 56.5 trillion naira. Transcorp Nigeria recorded the highest volume of 66.8 million traded shares, followed by Fidelity Bank, Access Bank, Access Holdings, and NPF Microfinance Bank. Well, that's a quick look at business news. The news continues with Naja Atu.
You're just in time for live sports action with Ayo Makinde, who has details of the Africa University Games. Ayo. Thank you, Ayo DG. A presidential tribute is next as President Tinubu has paid tribute to his elder cousin, Dr. Nahim Din Ade Ekemode, who died at 80 years old. In a tribute to the departed, the president shared memories of their childhood and honored Dr. Ekemode's contributions as a gynecologist who practiced for more than 50 years. He trained in Egypt and served as the former chairman of the Lagos State Hospitals Management Board. President Tinubu prays for Allah's mercy for the departed and comfort for those he left behind. On that note, we conclude the network news on NTA. But before we go, here is a recap. A committee to pioneer the launch of the National Relief Fund has been approved by the Federal Executive Council. The House of Representatives Minister of Foreign Affairs at UNGA 79 calls for implementation of SDG 2030 agenda. And that concludes the network news. Thanks for staying with us.